Hi, boys and girls. Last week, we learned how to find the unknown sides of a polygon, specifically a rectangle. Well, today, we are going to be learning how to determine the area or find the area of a rectangle when given only the perimeter. So our learning target today is I can determine the area of a rectangle when given the perimeter. So we are going to start with just this simple problem, okay? And then we're going to use the information that we learned and the strategy to help us solve a word problem. So let's just say we're given this rectangle. We're given that the perimeter is 16. What is the area? Well, we think, in order to find area, I've got to know the length and the width. Well, I only know the perimeter here. Well, you actually know a lot if you know the perimeter, because we know that the perimeter is just the distance around the rectangle. So now we just have to figure out what are the dimensions, what are the length, and what are the width. So what could they be to add up to 16? Well, this is where a strategy comes into place. So our strategy is we are going to our first step is to go ahead and start with a width of 1. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to put a 1 here. Well, we know that because this is a rectangle, this side is 1 and this side is 1 because opposite sides are congruent. Then step 2 is to use the strategy to solve for unknown sides. So we learned that last week, so I know how to do that. I know that I add up the sides that I have, so 1 plus 1 is 2. I then know that I take the 2 and subtract that from my known perimeter. So 16 minus 2, that's 14. Because this is a rectangle, I know that I have to divide this 14 by 2 because I have 2 sides remaining. So 14 divided by 2. And I know that is 7. So now I know that each side is 7. So now I know I have a width of 1 and a length of 7. Because I'm trying to find the area, the third step is to solve for area. So I'm going to do length times width. Well, my length is 7 and my width is 1. So my area is 7 square units. Okay? So let's say that we are asked to find a different area with the same perimeter. What do I do then? Well, let's look and see. So we know that we have a rectangle and its perimeter is 16. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave this up here. Let me leave that up here so that we know what areas we've already found. So we know that we have a 7 by 1. And so the area is 7. So I'm just going to leave that right there so that we know what we have, okay? So now, what's our strategy? Our first step is to start with 1. Well, we wouldn't start with 1 because we've already done 1. So we're going to start with 2. So now I'm going to have a width of 2. That means we have a 2 over here. And our step 2 is to use the strategy to solve for the unknown side because I've got to figure out what's the length. So I would do 2 plus 2, that equals 4. I'm going to take my known perimeter, subtract that by 4, and I'm going to get 12. Then, because I have 2 sides remaining, I'm going to do 12 divided by 2, and that is 6. So that means that now the length, both the top and the bottom, are 6. And it's important, I didn't do it with the last one, but it's important to make sure that they equal to what your perimeter is. So let's just do that. 6, 7, 8, plus 6, plus 2. So I can just do 8 plus 8. And is that 16? Absolutely. So now I've got to solve for area. So that just means I do length times width, and I have 12 square units. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that to our list. All right? So what if they say, well, give us another one? Well, let's see what we can do. We know that our perimeter is 16. We know we've already used a width of 1 and a width of 2. So then what can I do now? Well, I've used 1, I've used 2. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use 3. So width of 3. I know this side is 3, so this side is 3. I'm going to use the strategy to solve for the unknown side. So 3 plus 3 equals 6. 16, because we're going to take our known perimeter, subtract 16 from 6. We have 10. Because we have 2 sides, we are going to divide them by 2. And so that means that the length is 5. So that means the top and the bottom both have a length of 5. So now let's make sure this adds up to 16. 5 plus 5 is 10. 3 plus 2 is 6. 10 plus 6 is 16. But now we've got to find the area because they ask us to find different areas. So length times width, that's 15, okay? Square units. So now I'm going to go ahead and add that to our list. We've got 5 by 3, and we've got 15, okay? What if they say, all right, see if you can find another one? Well, we're just going to keep using that same strategy. Here we go. Well, we've used a width of 1. We used a width of 2. We used a width of 3. So let's use a width of 4. We have 4 here. So we have 4 here. Now we're going to solve for that, find that unknown side. 4 plus 4 is 8. Then we have to subtract that 8 from 16 because that's our known perimeter. 16 minus 8 is 8. We know that we have to divide that by 2 because we have 2 sides. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. So now we have that the top and the bottom are both 4. Well, all of that, 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, 4 equals 16. So what's that area? Well, 4 times 4 equals 16 square units. So I'm going to add that to our list. What if they say, okay, see if you can find another one? Well, let's just keep going with our strategy. All right. So we did a width of 1, we did a width of 2, we did a width of 3, we did a width of 4. So now let's do our width of 5. 5 here, 5 here. So now we've got to solve for an unknown side. So that means we're going to do 5 plus 5 is 10. 16 minus 10 is 6. 6 divided by 2, because we have 2 sides, is 3. So that means that the top is 3 and the bottom is 3. Wait a second. That area is going to be 15 as well. So I've already got that area. So I can't use that again because of the commutative property. I've already found that area. So because of the commutative property, it's just switched. Instead of a 5 by 3, I now have a 3 by 5. So we know that we have exhausted all of the possible areas because we're just going to have to switch the factors. So instead of it being a 7 by 1, we can do 1 by 7, 2 by 6, 3 by 5, and then obviously 4 by 4. So we can't find any more areas. So the areas that we can find are 7, 12, 15, and 16. Okay, so the largest area we could get with a perimeter of 16 is an area of 16. And that doesn't always work out that way. It just did with this rectangle. Okay, so now we're going to use that strategy to help us solve a word problem. So our word problem is, let's see if I can fold it. Sorry, guys. All right. Betty is designing gardens and flower beds for planting this summer. Betty has 18 feet of low fencing to place around her rectangular rose garden. She wants the largest areas she can get with 18 feet of fencing. What are the whole number dimensions of the largest rectangular garden Betty can make? Well, with a word problem, the very first step is to figure out what are they asking us and underline that. So they're asking us, what are the whole number dimensions of the largest rectangular garden Betty can make? So that means we're trying to figure out what are the largest length and width I could get, okay? Now, this whole number right here, that just means we can't have 1.5 or 2.5 or 3 3/4. It's got to be a whole number. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's all that means, okay? Now we know that they're asking us. We've got to find the largest length and width. So now we've got to figure out, well, what is important information that they've given us? Well, we know that if it has 18 feet of low fencing, even if I don't know what low fencing is, I know that fencing means it's got to go around. And if you think about low, it just means that it's short, because gardens don't need a high fence like a yard. They're just going to need a low fence just to kind of keep little critters out. So that means that I know that because a fence all the way around that is 18 feet, I know that the perimeter is 18. I'm also going to circle rectangular, because remember, it's really important to know the shape that you're dealing with. So now that I have that information, I'm going to use my strategy to figure out what can my dimensions be, because it wants the largest rectangular garden. So that means I've got to figure out the largest area, because she probably wants the biggest garden because she wants to put lots of flowers in it. So our strategy is we are going to start with a width of 1. So let's go ahead and do that. This is 1 and this is 1. Then we use the strategy to solve for unknown sides. Well, 1 plus 1 is 2. And we know that the perimeter is 18, so we do 18 minus 2. 18 minus 2 is 16. Then we're going to divide that by 2 because we have 2 sides that are left over, and we have 8. So that means we have a top and a bottom with a length of 8. Let's make sure that equals 18. 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 2 is 18. So now we know that, let's solve for the area, because we need to figure out the largest rectangular. Well, let's see. Length, that's 8, times 1, that's only 8 square feet. I think I could probably find another, and I know that to be able to find all the dimensions, I have a strategy. Instead of working with 1, I can just go to 2. So what I want you to do is pause the video, and I want you to solve this problem with a width of 2, knowing that the perimeter is 18. Press pause and come back when you're ready to check. Okay, guys, welcome back. So now let's see if we can get a bigger area with a width of 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to cross out my 8. Okay. All right, so now this is a 2. That means this side is a 2. So 2 plus 2 is 4. I'm going to go ahead and do that same strategy. 2 plus 2 is 4. I'm going to take the known perimeter. I'm going to subtract 4 from that. So that is 18 minus 4 is what? 14. Then I know I have to divide by 2 because I have 2 remaining sides. So 14 divided by 2, that gives us 7. So now I know that I have a length of 7. So the top and the bottom are both 7. Well, let's see if that gives us, if those dimensions give us a bigger area. Well, my length is 7, my width is 2. It does, 14 square feet. Look at that. Well, what you're going to do in the Google Classroom slide today is you're going to use the strategy that I taught you, trying those different widths to see if you can find what the largest rectangular garden Betty can make is. So you're going to go to Google Classroom. You're going to click on the math slides, and you are going to add in the new dimensions that you found. So today, I hope you enjoyed finding how to determine the area of a rectangle when given the perimeter. Remember, go to Google Classroom, finish the math, and have a great day.